A strong woman stands up for herself, but a stronger woman stands up for everybody else. These eloquent words aptly describe the remarkable ladies I'm going to introduce as speakers for our first panel of the day, Stories, Achievements, and Experiences. If I forgot to introduce myself earlier, I'm Zarina, and I feel honored to chair this session among such ambitious and successful women. Come, let us prepare to be inspired with each of these trailblazers as they share their experiences with us. After their talks, there'll be a Q&A session at the end of the panel, so please record any questions you might have in the notepad provided to you, and I'm sure our panelists would love to answer those queries. So our first distinguished speaker of the day is someone who is well known in Asian women's rights advocacy circles, Dr. Amrit Wilson. Dr. Wilson, apart from being an activist with decades of experience and chair of the South Asia Solidarity Group, she is also an academic whose expertise is the history of South Asian women in Britain, and she has a book on it to her credit. She writes on issues of contemporary political relevance in platforms like The Guardian. Today, she's going to present a very interesting topic: the history and struggles faced by first generation of South Asian women in the UK. I'm sure most of us here are South Asian women, so it's very interesting to find how we have evolved or developed as a community. Dr. Wilson.
Thank you so much, my sisters, all of you, and also for that wonderful introduction. Can you hear me at the back? Yeah? Okay. Well, I've been given a very big topic, but I want to talk about it in a way which would make us maybe think of some ideas. And so, well, it's true that I was involved in the well, for many years, actually, but certainly at the beginning, when we set up the first South Asian women's group in this country, and we took on issues of racism, as well as issues of what women face as women, meaning isolation, violence, and so on and so on. But I don't want to simply talk about those days, because sometimes it's more interesting to look at how we see those days from here, what's happening now that reflects on that time. So I'd like to start off by saying that I've only just come back from India 2 days ago, which is why I'm so cold all the time. I was in Delhi, and some remarkable things happened which affected me personally very deeply. I was able to go and visit Jamia as well as Shaheen Bagh. And it was an experience which really made me think. And in a way, I'm still exploring those thoughts and those ideas. So what I say now is not something which is set in stone. It's something which maybe you can think about. Well, the first thing, of course, I had not expected to go to Jamia, but the people who were taking me around said, you should come to Jamia first. And so we went there, and it was really an amazing experience, because in Jamia too, a lot of women were sitting at a meeting, and they were discussing, and they were responding, and it was a very remarkable, very intense atmosphere. And I'd gone there with, as it happens, my daughter and my granddaughter. And we had gone there, of course, as a family, but not only as a family. we'd also gone there as activists, because my daughter is also involved in the kind of work which I do. And now my granddaughter, who is 20, is also becoming very interested and doing the same things. So when we got there, we were introduced as a family, and then, to my surprise, they said, but they're not just a family, they're also activists. And I was very, very moved by that, because so often women are just categorized as mothers, grandmothers, but not as anything beyond that. Jamia was interesting because there was a real spirit there. There's a real analysis of politics, which you don't find in most meetings in this country, for example. So, well, we were there for a while, and then we looked around, and then we went to the Shaheen Bagh area. And what struck me there was, of course, you know, the women sitting there who had been sitting there through this very cold winter with their children. Some of the women were older than I was. In fact, they told me, look, we're older than you. And some were very young. But what hit me was, you know, some years ago in the 1990s, I had had the opportunity to visit Eritrea, which is a country which had fought for its independence from Ethiopia, right, which was supported that time by America. And when I went to Eritrea, there was a battle going on. But I was able to visit the liberated zones of Eritrea. Some of them were under the ground, right? Some were not. And really going to Shaheen Bagh made me think of those liberated zones. Because what you find in a liberated zone is not only people fighting for their safety, fighting in a battle, but also creating the world that they want, you know. And this was very remarkable in Shaheen Bagh, because there were libraries for children. Children were learning to read. They were drawing pictures. And the posters were all about, they were all about thoughts and ideas, you know. And they made people think more by looking at them. So this was a very remarkable experience. And later on, I had the opportunity of talking to a close friend of mine who happens to be in Delhi. She's a lawyer. She's a young lawyer. She's not a Muslim. But she goes to Shaheen Bagh regularly to help, to provide legal advice and so on. And she told me something quite interesting. She said, you know, there are a lot of cases which women face in terms of Islamophobia, the attacks on them, economic issues, and so on. But there's also cases of gender violence. And women are coming out and wanting to talk about those issues. And this was very, very interesting. Because, you know, quite often this is a topic we don't talk about. We've learned to censor ourselves. And it's not surprising that we don't want to talk about it, because if you look at how we've heard, you know, from the wonderful first speaker about how we can see ourselves, but we also need to analyze a bit more how the world sees us, or the outside world, the outside forces see us. And if you look at Britain, for example, we're told constantly, we're given two images of Muslim women. One is that they are very oppressed, docile, following their men. Even people who wear hijab, we are told, well, you know, it's forced on them. So they are given no agency, right? So that's one thing that's put upon us. And the other image, which has started to come out now, is that women are also terrorists. I mean, you've heard of the case of this poor young woman, Shamima Begum, who was a child, really, who was groomed and who went and now is stuck there. So, these images are very interesting because we are labeled with those. And it's interesting for me because when I first came to this country, we as Asian women were labeled similarly. Not as terrorists, because that wasn't an issue then, but we're labeled as dirty, as ignorant, as just following our men, as unable to do anything, etc. And it's interesting because we, in a way, because this is a women's meeting and we're all, well, I'm not Muslim, but I share some of the same feelings, we can talk openly. And there's one particular case which I want to mention to you. I don't know how much time I have, but have I? Okay. A couple of years ago, I think it was, or perhaps it was just 1.5 years ago, somebody from Rotherham, which is in North London, a young Muslim woman, rang me up and she said, "Do you think you could write an article about what's happening in Rotherham? Because the whole community has been labeled as child sexual abusers," right? So, it's a difficult article to write, but I thought, okay, I'll have a go. And I tried to get it into various newspapers, and it was very, very difficult. They didn't want to touch it, right? So in the end, I did manage to get it published. But what I found out was really interesting. You see, you have this child sexual abuse scandal, and the media in general tells you that Muslim men are abusing young white women, right? But if you look at child sexual abuse, you'll find it's very, very widespread. This is about male violence, all kinds of men, not Muslim, not any other particular sort. And child sexual abuses because we as Asians and Muslims particularly are in a minority, the majority of child sexual abusers in this country are white men. But those cases never make the media. So what we're dealing with here then is male violence, which extends to men in all communities. And we have to be honest, it does extend to all communities. So that was one point. The other point was that the women who were abused were not just young white women. There are also many, many Asian women, many Muslim women. And the third point, which is particularly difficult, and which I never wrote about because, it was just too difficult to write about, was that, but we can speak about it here, was that a lot of the abuse which occurred within families. So things need to be done to change all this as well. While we are fighting racism, we also need to fight for our basic safety in a variety of arenas. And how do we take that fight forward? Now, what I think Shaheen Bagh taught me was that when things are bad, you can still create something beautiful. When the struggle is harsh, you can still create new ways of living. And I think that's where we have to move things forward. And I think that we have to go back to my experiences as an Asian woman in this country. When we organized as Asian women, we organized separately. We didn't organize with white women because of racism. But we did, once we were organized, we did work with white women. We worked broadly. And that's why I feel maybe there's a lesson in it for Muslim women, that you can organize separately, yes, to strengthen yourselves, but then you go out and then you work with others. Now, I wanted to say a last couple of things before I stop. One is that when there is, because of International Women's Day, on the 7th of March, a demonstration called Million Women Rise. And they have offered for Shaheen Bagh to have a block. That is, it's a women-only demonstration. So I would really appreciate it if as many of you as possible could come to that march, be on that block, and speak. We will arrange that you also are allowed to speak at Trafalgar Square, or so, I can't remember exactly where, but it's some major place, right? But you can discuss this with me at some point. There's still a few days. The other thing I wanted to say is that when I was at Shaheen Bagh, I had the privilege of being able to speak to the women. And at one point, I said, quite spontaneously, that we will hold a Shaheen Bagh in London. And, you know, they were so happy. They were so happy. So we need to do that. That is our duty as women, as human beings. So that's what I'll leave you with, in that hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson. Some of the facts you mentioned here are real eye-openers. I think it is our duty as Muslim women, mostly hijabi women, South Asian women, to try and dispel these untruths and work for society, to try and clear some of the misconceptions that people have about us as a community. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the next speaker. She has been nominated by Arabian Business as one of the top 100 most powerful Arab women in the world. Sharifa Fadl. Sister Sharifa is a businesswoman, academic, and has a list of several achievements in the business world to her credit. Her business accomplishments aside, Mrs. Fadl is also pursuing a PhD. The focus is to do with Arab women in the Arab world. Also, she's a mother of 4 children, studying without her husband here. He's back at home, so he got it easy, and she's doing all the hard work here. So let's welcome Sharifa.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. I'm actually very honored to be preceding 3 inspirational women that just preceded me. And I feel like I'm nothing compared to what they've achieved and what they've said. But I hope with this small, very short speech to inspire. So I come from a very strong background of women leaders. My inspiration has been from my own mother and my paternal grandmother. My mother wore many hats, through which I felt I was being empowered before being inspired. Her navigation through the different paths of life reflected her strength and determination. Her passion for education, for growth, made me feel that there was no door was closed. As a 10-year-old, I watched my grandmother run a local community mini bank. In a small metal chest, I remember under her bed, which is huge, she would have separate purses that deposited money for the women around the neighborhood. Upon asking her, she told me, I do that to help these women support themselves, and I will save for the time of need. I used to call her the mini bank or local bank. We always went back. She's like, give us the money, give us the money. She's like, it's not yours. It was this daily ritual that first sparked my passion and fascination for the issue of supporting women, their leadership capabilities, and question how I can help in developing them. I would watch this with intense curiosity as my grandmother performed her daily check of the community mini bank, with which she was entrusted, portraying that strong leadership characteristics that were rarely exhibited in the others around her, regardless of their gender. These two women are my inspiration, and they are my strength that I go on with. My education swirled around different disciplines. I was raised in the UK and then went back home and lived in different countries around the world. That's why my accent is never perfect for one country. I spiraled from engineering to computer science to marketing and management and then entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is where I found my voice. I found my voice to support other women. I've always wanted to have a business, 2 or 3. The imagination is endless with me. I saw an opportunity in everything, but couldn't open one business, unfortunately. That took time because of the people around me. They couldn't support me the way I needed. Of course, remember, I'm an Arabic Khaliji woman. Everyone has a say in that community. They know you, they don't know you, they have to have a say. They would say things, none of it was constructive. And if I asked for something, instead of trying to pave the way, they would actually put everything negatively, and all the obstacles in the world will be laid in front of me. And it was like, you can't achieve it. They thought that would put me down. It was actually encouraging me to push forward. And everyone that said no, it was a challenge for me to say yes. But remember, I had very inspirational women pushing me to do so. They were behind me. My grandmother didn't know much about business outside, but she's like, you can do it. You can do it. Just do it. Ignore your dad. He doesn't know. You know. And I would do that. And I would tell him, my grandmother said. So he would stop. He's like, okay, go ahead. This was it. I finally knew what I wanted to do, what I needed to do, and what I needed. I needed the confidence. I needed the inner strength. I needed the power to excel. I needed others to believe in me. And I needed women, not men. I finally made it and opened businesses. Actually, I opened about 4, which were successful, alhamdulillah. And here was another challenge. It's the opening of a business, being an entrepreneur, being a businesswoman, especially in a country like Qatar, where I'm originally from Bahrain and moved to Qatar as I got married. I saw women around have businesses, but they were in their names. They were not managed by them. It was always their brothers, their fathers, their husbands that were managing these businesses. I studied entrepreneurship in Qatar in an American university, and in the project it was creating a concept for a women's center. And after struggles and a lot of sleepless nights, we actually created a concept that was wowing to everyone, but no one wanted to support. Every door, we were so excited, but every door we knocked was closed. We weren't surprised, of course. We knew what was the system doing, but determination and belief in the cause of the goal was our drive to make it happen. We finally did. We operated for 5 years. We went all around the world. The center educated over 6,000 women in the country. We opened over 128 businesses, that some of them are still going on. But it wasn't the business and the outcome. It was the inspiration that we provided. It was the confidence. That's what women wanted when they came. They wanted someone to believe in them. We made it work. We put so much work in it. And the experience made us stronger and pushed us for more. We found that success was contagious for other women. 5 years in, Plus, I had a lot of consultancy work that I had to do around the world. I thought my next inspiration is to do a PhD. I don't know if that was the right thing or not, but let's see in a few months. A lot questioned my move, especially women. So you could see how women work both ways. Especially that I have 4 beautiful children, my daughter's sitting there recording me, and an absent husband. So my husband is back home in Qatar while I work here alone. So, well, look at me, I'm here. I'm a superwoman like everyone else. Thank you. When I am asked, how do you do it, I say I'm doing actually 2 PhDs. One in raising children in a foreign country, and one is doing my academic PhD. Both are developing me into a better version of me, making me a stronger and a more motivational person, I hope. But not just for me, but I humbly wish to inspire and support other women to fulfill their dreams, and that there's no limit to those dreams. There is a strong, determined woman that has the potential to grow and make a difference for herself, for her children, and family and community. That's me and my world, in all of us. My daughter and my other friends are here in the audience. I hope they find in me the inspiration and from me the support they need. I hope my words today motivate them and all you here to believe in yourselves that anything is possible and everything is possible. I would like to end by saying we are blessed to have a faith that had strong examples of inspiring women. Sayyida Khadija, Fatima al-Zahra, Aisha, Zainab bint Ali, Mary, and so many others. They're endless, but we don't see the inspire in them because they're not portrayed in everything that we do. And among us here, we've already experienced 3 wonderful women, and I know every one of you has an inspiring story to tell and is an inspiration in herself. So it's all in us. So you develop yourself, you create your world, and that is what me and my world is. I hope you leave here today invigorated and confident to be the best person you want to be, because there is a superwoman in each one of you that I would like you to embrace. Thank you.
MashaAllah, that was truly inspirational. To succeed as an entrepreneur is difficult, but to be so successful as a woman entrepreneur is truly inspirational. And kudos to your grandmother and mother for propping you up so remarkably. And it in turn helped to inspire so many women, including us today, isn't it? So once again. Our next speaker was supposed to be Sister Arzu Merali. She is a Cambridge alumni, writer, and co-founder of the International Human Rights Commission. However, Sister Merali is unable to attend today, and she sends her regrets due to health issues. She's not here today. So we are going to miss that talk, and we wish she was here, but unfortunately. We also have another very remarkable woman as our panel member. But due to personal circumstances, she can only join us at 3 p.m. today. So one more member of this panel will be speaking at 3 p.m. She's Sister Ramla Akhtar, MBE. So inshallah, we'll be introducing her later on. So I have no doubt that all of you agree with me. We have been inspired, motivated, and ready to challenge the world after hearing 2 of these really superb talks. So we now have a Q&A session, and that will be followed by a lunch, prayer, and networking break. So if any of you would like to ask our esteemed guests any questions, this is your chance. I also encourage our young girls here to ask, because these can be stepping stones for you. The world is your oyster. Anyone? Our volunteers are here. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, Amrit. Tazeen here. My question is, you went to Shaheen Bagh, and I just want to know, do we have our non-Muslim sisters over there? Because you are the primary source of information. I can know, because we hear from news and all this. There are many Muslim women there, but do we have our non-Muslim sisters there helping them? And just want to know that.
I think that's a really, sorry, is this on now? Yeah. I think that's a really important question. I was in India for about 3 weeks. And the first part of my visit, I went to West Bengal. And I went to Kolkata, where there is also a sit-in in Park Circus, right? And I went there, and there was another smaller sit-in in a place called Shireen Bagh, which I also went there. And it was beginning to disturb me that in Kolkata certainly looked as though a lot of the people involved in the sit-ins were only Muslim, right? And this was very disturbing, And I was with other activists who were based in India, who are left activists, who were also very concerned about this and thinking how this could be changed, right? When I went to Shaheen Bagh, the women I saw sitting, at the sit-in, they seemed to be mainly Muslim to me, right? But I did ask this question to a lot of organizers. And what they said was that some of the most important activists in Shaheen Bagh were not, in fact, Muslims. And they were either not particularly religious, or they were Hindus and so on. And they had done a lot of work, right? So this was quite heartening, and seemed quite positive. And the other thing I heard was that the media has, basically wiped those people out, right? There was also people in Jamia, because Jamia is not only a Muslim university, so there were a lot of Hindus and so on, and they were certainly very active. So this gave me some optimism. But having said that, I still think that it is an issue. I think it's quite a major issue, but we have to also look at the politics of the BJP in this context, because I belong to South Asia Solidarity Group, as you heard, and we've organized a lot of protests. In fact, there's one this afternoon, which I'm going to after this. And on Twitter, the kind of abuse we get is huge, but it's particularly like we are called left jihadis, right? So that's certainly a very interesting way of looking at it. So the thing is, now an alliance is growing up between progressive leftist individuals and the smaller part, not the big parties, of course, but the smaller parties, and Muslim activists. And I think this is a very interesting alliance.
That's good. Yeah.
So, I don't know if this answers your question.
Yes,
but I think the other thing which I just quickly wanted to say was, I was also disturbed by the fact that, some people would go there to Shaheen Bagh and places and pretend that they were very Muslim, dress up and, all this kind of stuff, and pretend like they were Muslims. They were not Muslims. That's not the way to show solidarity, When I went to Park Circus, I actually deliberately wore a bindi, right? Yeah. Because I want to say, look, actually I'm not religious, but I want to say that I'm not Muslim, but I'm there as a human being, So this is certainly
That's what I think. You said this 84-year-old woman, she said she would be there for a year. But will that make a difference? So the difference would be if we have our non-Muslim sisters also joining, and I think that we should work towards it a little bit, maybe.
Completely.
Yes,
completely.
that would change. That would help us to change the BJP. We would there would be something we can do about it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I think. Yeah.
I mean, I think we could, since we are in Britain, let's start here, you know.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And let's make a big alliance of women who are of all sorts, which is why the Million Women Rise demonstration is, you know, quite good. I mean, it's not everything, but at least it's a start, you know. And then maybe we can think about the possibility of doing a Shaheen Bagh here. Although, you know, now things are so bad that, I don't know, it's a very critical situation. But, you know, we should still carry on fighting, no way, you know.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Dr. Wilson, you talked about Shaheen Bagh in London. Do you think how do you propose moving forward with this?
Well, I mean, one possibility would be to have something maybe in Parliament Square, you know, where we have a sit-in, but we can't do it as a long-term thing. You know, it's just not possible in London. But even then, it would be something. It would be some kind of a show of solidarity. I'm told that the Tate Modern are doing as a kind of I don't know how to call it, a kind of musical and cultural show about Shaheen Bagh. And maybe we could all go there and kind of occupy the place. It's, you know, from 2 to 6, but still. Because, you know, what you do in solidarity from outside, one of the key things is publicity, you know. I know it sounds very like, you know, I mean, it doesn't sound like very ideologically good, but it's still an important issue, you know. If nobody knows you're doing it, there's no point in doing it, you know. So if we can somehow get publicity, and doing something the Tate would obviously be quite good from that point of view. But I would really appreciate it if you kept in touch with me and with others who are thinking of these things and put your ideas, you know. I mean, do you think that people would come to something like that? And if we have a sit-in, I mean, it's a question I'd quite like to know from you. Would you be willing to do that? It's not always easy. The weather is bad, you know, people are not well. Would you be able to come on the 7th of March for the Million Women Rise block? I mean, how many people could come? You know, even if we had 20 people, that would be something, you know. So I think these are the things which maybe you should think about today and then, you know, let me know. I'm sorry that I'll have to rush off in the afternoon because of the protest.
Sister Sharifa, what would your advice be to mothers who are juggling work, children and everything, and who sometimes feel short, like they're feeling short somewhere? Sometimes you feel like, you know, you just, not, the balls are just rolling, you're not juggling it properly.
Well, organization. I organize a lot. Lists. But I think it's balance, and balance is you don't have to do everything on your own. And to me, it's when I was living back home, I was still doing so much. So I had date nights with my husband, date nights with my kids. So each one of them I would go out with for breakfast or lunch, because that will give me the one-to-one time. Of course, back home you have a lot of help from help and family. Here you don't, which is, I think, when I see women with children here, I think those are inspiring to me, because like, I can't make it happen here. It's too difficult. But I think organization, and ask for help. The other problem, and it's been mentioned, we don't ask for help. We think that we have to do everything on our own. No, that's not true. We are equal as men. They have to take their responsibility. They have to take the kids to school, bring them back, clean, cook. I know it's difficult and we don't think of it, but we have to. we've got children, we've got boys, let's do it with them now. That you have to be a part of the household. You do this with your sister. And I have a rota on the fridge. She does the cooking, she does the dishes, he does the vacuuming. There's no one off one day. So he knows that he has the same responsibility as she has. So I think that's what we need to inspire.
That's very, very true. Organization and delegation, I suppose, isn't it? And asking for help as well, which I think, again, as South Asian women, we all are quite hesitant to do, especially when it comes to asking help from our husbands.
One more question to Sharifa. Most of us came to this country with our husband, and we are still think like like our memories and like how things will go back to where we came from. What made you to come to this country alone, and what made you to choose this country?
So it was between the Americas, so either Canada or the US, to do my PhD, or the UK. I'm self-funded, so someone has to pay for my studies. So it was the husband. And that's why he's back home and I'm here. But it's a direct link, 7 hours, and he's in Manchester, which is close to Leeds, so he can come over. So that was initially the choice. Having grown up in the UK until I was 13, till my daughter's age now, it was a home, because when I opened my eyes, I only opened it to the UK. I was living in the south. Now I see it completely different than how I saw it before, but it was more of a logistic issue more than anything else coming here.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair for very inspirational words, and I hope we will be able to raise our daughters and our granddaughters like that, the inspiration you had from your mother and granddaughter. But the thing I want to ask is always that guilty feeling as a mother, as a wife, how you must have had those as well, and how you dealt with that. That am I doing right? Like if you are here with children, you must feel that, am I depriving my children from father's love and other relatives? Am I doing the right thing? Is this do you feel like that sometimes or no?
I think we all do at one point, but it's your support system which is important, and I think that's what gatherings like this, I've been to so many, and regardless of where you're coming from, you leave you have like this inner strength in you, like, oh, they're doing it, they're helping me. It's just the nice word saying you can do it, or I'm here for you, or I did it. It's not difficult. I'll give you some advice. All of these help you to be stronger and to speak up and to ask for help and be, the person that you want to be. The guilt sometimes is imposed. It's the way that it's phrased. I know people would phrase it, you're going to leave your kids? I know inside me, it's like the questioning makes me unconfident, but yes, I'm leaving them. I left my 3 boys back in Leeds with their uncle to come to this. I know a lot of people would say, why did you leave them? How can you leave your kids? Well, I have to do it. But I did have a strong mother. Every birth I had, after 3 months, she would take the baby for a week and tell me to leave. Because you need that, the anxiety, separation anxiety, needs to start early on. Ask for help, and feeling guilty, sometimes talk about it, because other women feel the same way and they make me feel better. But it's okay to feel guilty, I think, sometimes, not that much.
I just wanted to add to that because it reminded me very much of when people first came here. And I worked a lot with Bangladeshi women. And it was very interesting because, women were very isolated. Like back home, they had their families, they had other women they could talk to, they had people to comfort them, and the children would be cared for collectively by a lot of women. But here, you come here, all that's gone. And so this was a huge, huge problem. So how was it partially solved? because it's not been fully solved, I can't pretend. Right? And I think it was partially solved by us creating, in a way, new networks of friends, of other women like us who are also lonely, and getting that emotional support from them. Because the idea was, in most of those women I spoke to, they did not get that emotional support from their husbands. They got it from other women. So that can be recreated in a new situation. And I think this has been a big lesson for many of us who've lived in this country.
So I think let's move on to the next phase. So we really enjoyed the talks, and I'm sure everyone in the audience did, isn't it? Yeah. So Strive UK would like to present a token of appreciation to our esteemed panelists. So I'm going to call upon Sister Ramla Kalikunnel of East Midlands Malayali Muslim Association, Emma, to present this token to Dr. Wilson and Sister Sharifa. To Dr. Amrit. Thank you so much. I would now like to invite again Rahmatunnisa teacher. She has been also live at Shaheen Bagh. For those who don't know, due to the laws introduced by the government, which is actually very discriminatory to the large Muslim population in India, there have been lots of protests and talks worldwide. So in Delhi, the women of Shaheen Bagh have been sitting in protest since the last, how many days was it? Since the last? More than 2 months now. They have been braving the cold, braving the harsh weather, leaving their families at home, and have been sitting in protest, in peaceful protest, I must say, at Shaheen Bagh. The government has been intimidated, and they have been trying to suppress these women, but nothing seems to deter them, and we should really take inspiration from them. So both Dr. Wilson and Rahmatunnisa teacher have been live on the ground there. So she's going to give us her experiences.
Assalamu alaikum once again. Actually, Shaheen Bagh protest started immediately after the police brutality in Jamia Millia Islamia on December 15th night. So, Dr. Amrit Wilson, she was giving her live experience. Our office is just 5 minutes away from Shaheen Bagh. It is at Okla. And almost every day we used to go there and support them with whatever they need. Like it's an organic, no organization label or political organization, even social organization label. It was an organic protest by the people of Shaheen Bagh, especially the women. And you know, some of them are even above 95-year-old Asma Khatun was also there. And you know, two things that I would like to specify here is, number one, Delhi is the capital of world sexual assault on women, we say. But during these, and after that, more than 22 Shaheen Baghs were set up in Delhi itself. And in the whole country, more than 200 Shaheen Baghs. And I would like to specify and say, underline and say that from none of these Shaheen Baghs, there were men, young girls, young boys working together, supporting, volunteering, receiving guests, and people come and go, they give talks, they sing. Just like a carnival, they were celebrating their protest actually. They were, you know, actually making it like, as Madam said, they were creating a life of what the real India should be. They were showing the world. But from none of these Shaheen Baghs, no sex violence has been reported. This is so what we understand is if you are standing for a cause and if you work together for a cause, such evil thoughts will naturally wipe out from your minds. And you see men encouraging their wives at home. The women were telling us, I just half cooked the food, and you know how Indian dishes are cooked. It's a long time-consuming effort and process. And, it is half-cooked, and they tell us, now the remaining, I will take care. I will clean the house. You go. Your presence is needed more there. Why? Because this problem, actually, the rules, regulations that have come, that is going to affect the women more than men. Because in Indian culture, women are, when they are born and brought up in a family, they are made to believe that after some time they will leave this house and go. They are being brought up to be prepared to go to somebody else's house. And when you go to the other house, in your husband's house, you are being always labeled as someone who has come from another family. And almost the entire property, business, everything is owned by men. The result is women, and also most of the women are illiterate and they don't get equal education as the opportunity as the boys in the family. So what happens is they don't have documents to produce. Once you are put in that D category, that is doubtful citizen category, by any official, he can do it. The rule is, there are many loopholes in the rule. He can even put you in that doubtful category if he has a personal grudge against you. It has come to such level. And once that is put, it is the citizens, it is your duty to prove that, no, I am not a doubtful citizen, I am a real citizen of this country. And you will not have, the women will not have any documents to prove. A discrepancy in the spelling of the birth certificate, and they say the passport, the voter ID, and there is something called the Aadhaar card, none of these are in support of proving your citizenship. This is what they say. So that is why this natural flow of women in the ground. And second thing is, there is a common misconception that it is going to affect only Muslims. That is also a wrong concept. Actually, what they are trying to do is, they want the Brahmanic hegemony to survive. And they want to enjoy that. They want to take the country back to the feudal system which existed, and keeping people as second-class citizens, third-class citizens, fourth-class, different levels. That is, and it's not, they have just started with the Muslims, and they will go to, and then the leftists and the Muslims, whoever is protesting, either they brand them as jihadis or they brand them as urban Naxals. The leftists, they brand them as urban Naxals. So branding, demonizing, and putting them in jail, more and more youngsters especially, targeting them and putting them in jail. These are the things that are going on. But one very beautiful, it was a beautiful occasion. Our sisters and brothers, Hindu, Sikh brothers and sisters, non-Muslims, they came from Punjab in 8 buses, collecting food grains. This is under one Kisan organization, that is farmers organization. They came and they set up kitchens and they were literally cooking food for the protesters. All our with bindis and So every day people keep coming and going, and non-Muslims are also involved in the protests. But the thing is, the visibility of Muslim women is more. And 2 reasons. One is they are the first targets and they are going to be affected more. And second is, it is that inherent quality or, nature of a Muslim community to do this Amrun bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar, to stand against any evil that is prevailing in their country. Okay, so that is what I wanted to share with you, and there are very good positive things coming with this protest also. Our youngsters are becoming more and more, secular, and, they are inclusive of every religion, and in the campuses they help each other. There is no such rigidity. It is the politicians, actually the law is to communalize and, polarize people. But what is happening in result in the society is people are getting more and more united. So I hope we will survive and we will succeed one day, and the same secular atmosphere and the democratic system will prevail in the country, and peace will prevail. That is what we hope for and we work for. And I really appreciate your efforts, that your plans to do something in London also in this regard. And the voice should reach everywhere, and the world communities should come together and protest, so that the Indian government, the rulers, will be forced to take back the law. So shall I go with the announcement? Yeah.
So we had a few pre-event competitions in association with the conference, which I'm sure many of you are aware of. So after much deliberation, because we had some excellent entries, the judges have selected the winners. So if Rahmatunnisa teacher could kindly do the honors and announce the winners of the competition.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the Strive organizers for conducting this type of a competition. And I would like to congratulate all those who participated. The moment you decide that I will participate in this contest itself, it's a matter of winning. Because not everyone is able to take that decision and come forward and get an opportunity to participate. So every participant is a winner. But as you know, in every competition, this is the rule of the day. Someone has to be selected as winner. And these are things like, humanly possible things. That's what they have done. So the runner-up, that means the second winner of this competition is Rinisha Chirammal. I think she lives in Sharjah, UAE. She's from Sharjah, UAE. Okay. And now to announce a winner of this competition, Noshin Musa Hamza. She's from Kerala, from Ernakulam district. She lives in Ernakulam district, India. She's Dr. Noshin Musa Hamza. Congratulations to the winners, and my prayers and best wishes to all the participants.
Just to remind you all, there's a bookstall by Cube Publications selling some really good reads. So please go and have a look. Purchase these books as well. All our Islamic books, you can have a look and then purchase. Also, there's an exhibition at the back. This has been done by our young children of Strive. It is about women achievers in Islam. And we have also had contributions from our sister organizations as well. So kindly have a look. So we are going to take a break now for lunch, prayer, and networking. So Zuhar Namaz is at 1:30, and it is in the mosque above. And those who can please pray Asr as well along with it. I know many of you are travelers. So if you can pray Asr as well along with it, that would be good. Because we're only going to stop for Asr at 4:15, and it will be a very quick, short break. Because we want to maintain the flow of the event. So I hope everybody can get back to their seats as soon as the Jamaat prayer is over by around quarter to two. So we can start earlier than planned. Just because we have a lot of talks lined up after lunch. So if everybody can aim to get back to their seats by 1:45, we can start promptly, inshallah. So lunch now, and please don't forget to look at the bookstall and the exhibition. Jazakallah khair.